this planning meeting Monday the 20th of July, the Civic Centre, and for those observing the meeting on Microsoft Teams. Fire alarms procedure. There are no fire drills expected this evening, so in the event of an alarm sounding, please quickly make your way out of the building. There are 3 exits from this room, which members can use to vacate the premises. Please switch mobile phones onto silent or switch them off and take any calls outside of the meeting room. Do not leave any possessions unaccompanied or report any unaccompanied possessions. Remember to take any possessions with you when the meeting is concluded or as you leave. This meeting may be subject to filming or audio recording by others in accordance with the council's filming protocol. Anyone who remains in the meeting following this announcement will be deemed to have consented to allow their image to be recorded and broadcast. Move on to the agenda. Item 1. Apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
Apologies have been received from Councillor Answer. Councillor Stendhal will be substituting for Councillor Answer.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Agenda item 3, planning application reference 2025-0718 for demolition of the existing church and car park, construction of a new church, 12 SSH specially supported housing apartments, the Methodist Church, Chesterfield Road South, Mansfield. Could I invite the report, please, Doctor?
Thank you, Chair. Just for reference, there's a very minor update in the committee report head of terms. It's not it doesn't substantively change anything, but it's worth referencing. I spotted it when I was going through the report. It's the monitoring fees listed at £270 or 2% of the total contributions. That should be revised to 290. Minor clerical error, so it doesn't change anything substantive. So the application that's before the committee this evening is maybe not the best term, but mixed use application for the erection of, so it's the demolition of the existing Methodist church on Chesterfield Road South, just to the northwest of here. It's currently the building's aging, so the proposal is to erect 12 supported living apartments over to 2.5 story building and a single story replacement church, which I've got some photos to show in a moment. So this is just they've got a few slides. So this first slide just shows the existing site layouts of the western top on the left hand side of the image there. You can see the existing church. It's roughly 500 square meters, which is relevant in a minute. So the whole site area is about 0.2 of a hectare, which is maybe 0.75 of an acre. So this just shows the better image, shows the satellite image. The surroundings are predominantly residential, although Chesterfield Road South is a major arterial road towards Plesley. Mainly well-established residential dwellings, although the Centenary Row housing developments, the newest, directly to the southeast, and there's a small patch of unused green space adjacent to the church. So this just shows a few images just to go through. Really, there's no significant in terms of planning constraints or anything that's kind of goes that would warrant additional consideration beyond the normal planning issues that wasn't identified in the report. So there is some commercial development. It's not wholly residential, but the overriding character is predominantly residential, obviously with the exception of the commercial units I've identified in the church itself. So the next few slides, they show there's a few rendered sort of 3D CGI rendered images of the church, and then subsequently the residential apartments. So the church is it's quite a bit smaller in terms of footprint. It's a single story. It looks taller than it is. It's probably about single story height. It's about 5.4 meters, sort of, so about 1.5 stories in height. It's more of a contemporary design, but it's generally viewed quite favourably as far as an overall design approach. It's in terms of, you can sort of tell by the integration of solar panels into the roof structure. I think there's adapted cooling as well for the air conditioning for the warmer weather. Generally, so soft hard landscaping sort of around the edges. So it's, generally speaking, it's got sort of there is sort of some traditional design elements to it, but it's more or less sort of a blend of the two, really. The residential apartments are sort of more of a traditional appearance. That they're a single structure. Tallest one's about 11 meters, I think. Not 100% sure on the exact height, but it's sort of 2.5 stories, so not sort of not alien to sort of anything in the immediate context. This just sort of shows the again artificial rendering. There's parking proposed for eight cars. I think the church is for the parking for the church has been shown on these images. There's a proposed increase from, I think it's current 6 to 20 spaces. And that includes EV charging points for both and disabled access for both of them. There's one member of staff on site, I believe, at any one time, 24 hours a day for the supported living apartments. It's not a formal care home in the way we've seen for some of them. It's more just supported living. So these are just a couple of sort of 3D isometric images, again, just to show sort of an aerial view. So this is the supported living units, and then this is the church. So again, it's sort of sitting in the area. It's sort of inverting where it currently is. So it's in the area which is currently sort of the unused grass area on the corner. As I said, the users of the actual congregation has been involved in the design of the church, in the new church itself. So although the footprint is smaller, I think it's got a more efficient layout. So I've got a floor plan just to show here. I don't know if I can sort of zoom in on it a bit, but so if you can just see, so there's two sort of the layout fairly divided evenly. You've got like a main function room, then there's sort of an adaptable space followed by second function room, and then sort of various arts craft spaces, visitor spaces, main entrances is there on the left hand side, so you couldn't see in the images, and sort of various ancillary equipment. So this slide is probably the most to see really, so I'll sort of talk a little bit. So this is sort of the north arrow sort of on sort of this sort of direction, so this direction. So you can see the church again just sort of sits on the far edge of the site with parking sort of access from, so just go back to the, so access is from, so it goes down the side road here. I'm not sure if it's Brownlow Street, and then it would come around from the rear. So rather than it's not coming off the main, it's not coming off the main Chesterfield Road itself. Sorry for the quick clicks. So access comes off the back, and then it would be round there. So as you can see, there's EV charging points and accessible spaces. I think cycle storage is provided as well. So it's an attempt to sort of provide sort of accommodation for all modes of transport. The general site location, as most people will know, is considered to be acceptable. The apartments, again, same thing. They've got their own sort of own parking layout, dedicated cycle spaces. Some amenity spaces kind of shared. So there is also the intention, I think, that where possible, the church will try and sort of bring the residents, get them involved in sort of like things like weekly services though. So obviously it's not, some may engage, some may not, but the general intention is to try and sort of involve them with the sort of community activities. So that was in terms of sort of principle. So it's considered to be an enhancement to the existing provision, both mainly in terms of design and functionality. The existing building was expressed to be sort of in a state of disrepair. These last few slides, they're just a few images, just again, sort of cross section showing various elevations. So you've got northwest elevation. So this will be sort of stood facing with sort of the church is sort of higher up. So as you go up Chesterfield Road, and then again from the other side. So again, this looks more like sort of this is more from within the site, and then that's looking towards the residential apartment units. And then again, just an inversion. So wider cross sections. And that's it for as far as slides. I think there's just a general point. There's not the only reason for the referral to planning committee. It's just because it's a major application. There's been, I think there may have been one public objection, I can't recall. But there's been, in terms of statutory consultees and technical consultees, there's been no objections at all. So subject to those conditions, I know Section 106 agreement securing, I think, a registered provider for the for the unit, for the apartments, and off-site public open space for each of the units, and the monitoring fee. The proposal is recommended for approval. Thanks.
Thank you for that report, Lily. I have got a speaker, so I'd like to invite Michael Gilbert. Michael, come over there. You press the centre button, red light, come on, and you've got 4 minutes to speak. Thank you, Michael.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this planning application. At the outset, we'd like to firmly endorse the very clear and unequivocal conclusions reached in the officer report and the recommendation that the Planning Commission should be granted for this much needed specialised supported housing accommodation, which will provide high quality housing for individuals with disabilities, together with modern and fit for purpose church and community facilities. The officer report provides a very comprehensive and very thorough assessment of every aspect of the proposal against the relevant development plan policies, and concludes that the application is in full compliance, should be approved. We'd just like to highlight some of the key points for the benefit of the committee. There were no objections to the planning application from statutory consultees, as you just heard from the officer. The council's housing strategy manager has confirmed that the proposed specialised supported housing accommodation is fully supported by Nottinghamshire County Council and should be approved on that basis. The principle of proposed use of the site to provide specialist accommodation and replacement church and community facilities is acceptable. The development will make good use of previously developed land in a highly sustainable location within the Mansfield urban area. The development is acceptable in terms of access and parking arrangements. As you've heard, there were no objections from the highways officer. The scheme has been the subject of detailed discussions with officers throughout the determination application process, which has resulted in some amendments to the plans where necessary to ensure an optimal design and layout solution for the site, which is appropriate for the area and which will deliver a high quality scheme that will enhance the site and the wider street scene. The scheme raises no significant issues in terms of residential amenity, either for current or future residents. It will also deliver a wide range of very important benefits, such as the provision of acutely needed specialised housing for disabled people that will help transform the lives of some of the most vulnerable people in the community, giving them a home with the right support to enable them to live more fulfilling and independent lives. The more efficient use and redevelopment of a sustainable and underused brownfield site, and the provision of modern, new, purpose-built church facilities which are fit for the future and which will positively contribute to and enhance the townscape in this part of Mansfield, whilst offering additional community facilities. The proposal is therefore precisely the type of development that is advocated by national and local planning policy. We would respectfully request that the committee follows the very clear advice of its professional planning officers and consultees, and grants planning permission for what will be a hugely valuable development and asset to the local community. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Michael. Do members have any questions of the speaker? In mind, it's for clarity on the points raised. Yes, Councillor Stendhal.
Thank you then. On page 7 of the report, the comments summarised, and reference is written to say that got concerns about the entrance to the church and the car park opposite was lighting. Can you tell me if you approach this residents, if there's anything been looked at to put in place to mitigate this problem, please?
Can't speak for any direct communication with that resident, actually. Perhaps the officer know more about that, because as far as I'm aware, I haven't spoken directly to that one resident. But obviously that one neighbour comment has been taken on board by the planning officer. They've obviously examined the nature of those comments. They have to do as part of the determination process, and they have to decide whether or not that's sufficient material consideration to warrant changing the scheme or even reviewing the scheme. In this case, the officer has clearly determined that they've taken that particular point into account, and just the fact that there are going to be some additional comings and goings and some from that particular access isn't sufficiently material in order to weigh against approving the application.
Anyone else? And Councillor Jackson.
Thank you for your presentation. I don't know if you've got to answer this or not, so I'll try. Will there be a connection between what happens in the church and what family activities of people living in their accommodation? Are the two linked in some way? Are all the people going to church supporting or working with the people who are living in the accommodation, you know?
That's a good question. I mean, potentially yes. I mean, there's no reason why not. The residents are living independently, but with an element of support. So they're assessed by the county council and nominated as being suitable for specialised supported housing. So it's independent living in a community setting rather than being in a sort of care home. So they're free to come and go if they're able to. Sometimes they may need to have support if they come and go as well. But in terms of integrating with the church and community facilities, I'm sure they'll be more than encouraged to do that if they wish to. And likewise, it will probably be a nice idea actually for church congregation members to perhaps interact with those and perhaps come up with some joint activities that everyone might enjoy. So perhaps not on a formal basis, but I'm sure given the proximity of the two elements, there'll be synergies between those two elements, and it makes a lot of sense. It would be a nice suggestion.
So thank you very much. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? No? Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Do members have any questions or wish to say? Councillor Stendhal?
Yes, Chairman, I will ask the same question to the officer regarding the letter comment from the residents. Is there any function and mitigation that it's possible we put in place to mitigate the control lines?
Thank you, councillor. So I think we're just looking in the in the officer report, it says that so there's a separation distance of the church from the existing both existing and proposed.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Kat. Is that better?
Thank you,
Sorry, I'm not sure if the sound's working or not. So the officer report says that there's roughly a 17-metre separation distance between, I think it's the church and any of the closest residential dwellings. As far as I can tell from the submitted plans, there isn't any proposals for sort of significant lighting structures or significant lighting columns. And my understanding is there is a sensitive lighting condition on there, which I'm not totally clear on if that's a biodiversity related or one, but it in any instance would have a twin track sort of benefit at the same time. My understanding is there isn't any significant concerns that we've identified. It's the scale of the development there's nothing like flood lighting or anything like that, or I guess I don't think Highways have mandated any new street lighting columns or anything like that. Obviously noting there is an existing building on there already.
Yes. Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, it's on the same point really. The neighbour commenting about the entrance to the car park, which is opposite the property. I'm assuming this person lives on Marlborough Drive, but did you say that the car park entrance is off Brownlow Road? Could you just clarify that? Would have been misunderstood where the car coming in from.
Sorry, I might have misspoken on some of them. Okay. I'll just speak out loud. I'm not sure what's going on with the mic. I think, so it's this road, so the car park, I'm not 100% sure on the road labels, I'm afraid. I think it might be Marlborough to the, yes, so it comes off, I think the access comes off approximately here. Yeah, sorry, that's my correction. Sorry about that. I think as a general principle, we just look the number of cars on the site is proposed to increase. That's noted. I think the footprint of the church is reducing, which I don't know if that reflects general general, I don't know if that reflects broad, it's not planning consideration, but general trends in church attendance in general over the course of the last 25 years. I think as a general principle, obviously there will be some traffic generated, but there's been no objection from the highway authority in terms of highway safety issues. Not that that's direct. The environmental health officer hasn't raised any objections. So I think whilst it's noted that the access is adjacent to an existing dwelling, I don't think the level of there's not any reason that we were able to identify that would indicate the level of movement would be unacceptable in a way that would warrant further information or a policy conflict. Sorry about that, it's my fault. Yeah.
Councillor Swinsdown.
I'm just looking at page 3, and it clearly says that vehicular access is from Brownlow Road.
So have we got the plans in place? There may be, I think there are 2 points. So there's obviously there's the residential dwellings or the apartments themselves. Site layout. So obviously there's the residential, we're just checking the report now, but the residential dwelling or the residential apartments have their own parking and access, which I presume is probably what I was meaning when I said Brownlow Road. And then obviously you can see there's a separate access, which that is Marlborough Road there for the church. So obviously because they're two elements of the same site, but they have independent access points. So if you can see the parking spaces here on this side, it doesn't actually show where that. So there's an access road there. It's not shown on this red line plan. So that will be the, I'm presuming, unless it's a title in the report. Sorry.
To clarify, the access to the church will be from Brownlow Road, close to the junction with Chesterfield Road South. And the residential dwellings will front onto Marlborough Road.
I think it's the report.
The other way around.
Other way around.
I think there's an error in the.
I think it's. I'm really sorry about this. I think it's a typo in the report that's been missed. I'm presuming. So the residential dwellings, just on the plan, they will be roughly in the position of the existing church. The access point is here, which I think that's Brownlow Road.
Yeah, it is.
And then the church access will be Marlborough. Sorry about that. I think it's an error in the report. So I think it's just that's the clarification. I'm really sorry about that.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Stanley.
Good. Page 6, the consultees. Could somebody please explain what I say this carefully, SHIP team is, please?
Special attention placements. Strategic housing, I think councillor Jack. Sorry, yeah.
It's you need to put the mic on. You need it, so yes, it needs to be clarified to everybody, right, okay?
It's our housing team at Mansfield District Council that works with quite vulnerable residents throughout our district, and it provides lots of services in-house and links up with psychologists, psychiatrists, anything that residents will need, help with finances, anything to do to support vulnerable living and empower them for themselves.
Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. Councillor Tempest Mitchell.
It was me, if that's okay.
Oh, right, sorry, I thought both of you were.
No, it's like, it's just again, in regards to the report, proposal, at the top of the report says 13 apartments and the recommendation says 12. I know you said 12.
I think one of
points of clarity in the report, just to be aware.
I believe one of those is for the staff member. I believe, so I think it's 12, so I think it's 12 that would be subject to it's 12 that will be subject to the actual 106 consideration. I think that's probably just that should have been clarified. Sorry about that.
Any further questions? Stendhal?
Thank you. Page 25. I've read through the conditions, and if the officer could clarify, please, because I may have missed it. If there is a condition covering the wheel wash facility.
I think there's an environmental management plan. I don't know if it explicitly says wheel washing, but that can be amended. Post, if that's something that members are minded to request. I think it is that obviously the environmental management plan does require management of noise, dust and vibration. Wheel washes is one of the most standard ways of managing dust. But if members are minded to they can append that to the condition if they're so minded to.
Yeah, to the event, that's all.
Any further questions? Can I have a proposer for this application? Councillor Carney, seconder, Councillor Stevenson. Any members want to comment further? Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, just referring back to the headlights and everything, I can't see how a car would be shining directly opposite to the bungalows across the road from it, and they actually don't recall, they are quite high up anyway, so I can't even see that being a problem.
Any comment, Councillor Carney?
Yeah, I would like to say these accommodations are very much needed in our district for people with disabilities. So myself, I will be supporting this proposal.
Anyone else wishing to comment? No? Can we take that to the vote then with a show of hands? All those in favour, please show. Any abstentions? Any against? No, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. So, final application reference 2025-07-184, demolition of the existing church and car park and construction of a new church and 12 specialist supported housing apartments, Methodist Church, Chesterfield Road, South Mansfield, has been granted permission with conditions subject to completion of the 106 agreement and the additional condition of the wheel scrub and wheel wash on construction site. On to agenda item 4, which is the planning application reference 2026-0289-4. Regulation 3 application for public road improvement works in Mansfield Marketplace, including new landscaping, street furniture and lighting, Mansfield Marketplace. Could I invite the officer for a report, please?
Thank you, Chair. I have one item to update before I go on to my presentation for this application. We have received 7 trends comments on 17th of July. No objections were raised subject to the proposed drainage scheme being implemented in accordance with the approved details before the development is first brought into use. This does not alter the assessment of the proposal and an additional compliance condition with the recommendation. So I'll go on to my presentation for this application. The application site relates to Marketplace in Mansfield, which is located in the historic core in Mansfield, the Marketplace conservation area of the town centre. The proposed public ground improvement works include resurfacing to the marketplace, consideration of flexibility and programming for the marketplace, which includes, for example, recessed or in-ground power units for the market stalls, with fans, etc. Placement of lighting columns to a more sympathetic heritage design and lighting strategy to include seasonal and or stream lighting and retention posts. Garden area to the west of the marketplace, including the retention of existing trees, proposed tree planting, millstone fountains, play elements, soft landscape planting, and integrated seating. Upgrading of and new landscaping opportunities immediately around the Grade 2 listed Bentinck Monument, including new lighting and interpretation and seating. Replacement or enhancement of street furniture, including benches, bins, and drawer arts. And also consideration of placing and zoning furniture and potential issues with services and easements. Decommissioning of the in-ground defunct fountains in front of Old Town Hall and consideration of more complex interpretation and wayfinding. So the principle of development is considered acceptable as the proposed public groundworks strategically aligns with policies S4 and RT4, the Mansfield District Local Plan that seeks to deliver urban regeneration goals and town center improvement incentives. In terms of heritage, our conservation officer raised no objections subject to conditions relating to the repair and restoration of the Bentinck Memorial. These matters are secured under the associated listed building consent application, which is the next item on the committee agenda, which will be presenting later. Therefore, they're not duplicated on this application. Historic England supports the overall regeneration proposal, but raises concerns regarding impact of garden or play area too. Can we go back to the layout plan? So you can see one of those gardens and play areas. So close to the Bentinck Memorial, so they raised concerns to that, and also the effect of the permanent market stalls on key views within the conservation area. However, these comments have been carefully considered by officers, and it's concluded that the proposal will result in less than substantial harm to designated heritage assets. These harms are outweighed by the significant public benefits of creating a more attractive, accessible, and sustainable marketplace, and also to support the regeneration of the Mansfield Town Centre. It is considered that remaining impacts can be further minimized through conditions, securing details of lighting, street furniture, interpretation panels, signages, and landscape. In terms of residential amenity, environmental health raises no objections, subject to construction environmental management plan to be submitted, and we've also recommended a condition to restrict construction hours. So subject to these conditions, we do not consider that the proposal would harm the immunity of nearby residents. In terms of highway safety, the Highway Authority also raises no objections, subject to conditions relating to the location of temporary structures, a submission of management and maintenance plan, construction practices in relation to month and day. The impacts on highway safety are considered acceptable. The ecologist, parks development, and the tree officer also support the proposal, subject to conditions securing tree protection, service treatments within root protection, and some tree pit details. This development is exempted from PDMG requirements. This scheme has also no significant adverse climate change implications, and the proposed tree planting will provide environmental benefits. As mentioned at the start of my presentation, Severn Trent is satisfied with the drainage details submitted, and a compliance condition will be. Overall, it is considered that the proposal is acceptable in principle, while Historic England has identified some heritage impacts. These amount to less than substantial harm and are outweighed by the public benefits of the regeneration scheme. Subject to the recommended conditions, the proposal is accepted in terms of heritage, community, highways, ecology, drainage, and floodways, in accordance with the local plan and the national planning and policy framework. It is therefore recommended to grant approval.
Thank you for that report. And do members have any questions of the officer? Councillor Stendhal.
Page 43, it's conditions free, and I've read the reason for it. I'm just a little concerned about the fact that it's hours of working and construction and delivery of materials on these said days. I've just been concerned about the Saturday hours, which is until 1 o'clock, I believe. I've just been concerned about delivering while there's people out shopping at those hours. I'm possibly assuming there's going to be more shoppers around on the Saturday than the rest of the days of the week, but it's just concerning the delivery of materials rather than the construction. Would that create problems for residents? Because it only speaks in this condition about, not residents, sorry, shoppers, it only speaks in this condition about residents, and there's very few residents in that area. That does concern me. And then just very quickly, I'm pleased to see that condition 7 does allow for a wheel wash.
Thank you for your comments. These are, that condition is one of the standard conditions that we normally put on to control construction hours and delivery of materials.
I think it's okay. I think as a general, it is. Maggie, I understand the concern about Saturday hours. I think it's one of those things where I think I don't know. Obviously, there's public. Obviously, I think the condition wording probably could have been tweaked slightly. It's a standard condition that often gets put on most developments, and that's everything from sort of small minor resi schemes all the way up to sort of much larger schemes. I'd imagine as a general principle, obviously there is public realm improvements here, but I think as a general principle, obviously members, if they're minded to, could alter that condition but based on against the recommendation if they so wished. I think as a general principle, though, I think the amount of materials to be delivered or the amount of physical stuff needed to undertake this development wouldn't be anywhere near the order of magnitude that you would expect for a comparable sized residential development. So I don't think there's any sort of concern from our perspective, but I understand your sort of concerns. So I guess it's something that members, again, if they chose to, could.
Okay, so thank you.
Hammersley.
Just a comment, Chair, I don't think we should start changing conditions just because council doesn't agree with them. I think the officers have come up with these conditions and they're fairly standard conditions, so I think we should stick with them. Thank you.
Questions to the officer? Have a proposer for this Tempest Mitchell, second, Councillor Hammersley. Debate, would anyone wish to make a comment? Councillor Hammersley.
Chair, yeah, first of all, thank you for your report, excellent report. As the elected member for the town centre, I fully support the scheme. Kevin have received several presentations over the last 12 months from the project manager, Andy Bowers, and the scheme's entirely funded by £2 million from the town's fund. So yeah, very much support and welcome the scheme. Can't wait to see it implemented. Thank you.
You should make a comment. I'll just echo those sentiments. Could we move to the vote then, please? All those in favour, please show. Any abstentions? Any against? No, thank you. So it's a unanimous decision. So, final application reference 2023-02894. Regulation 3 applications for the ground improvement works to Mansfield Marketplace, including new landscaping, street furniture and lighting in Mansfield Marketplace, invented subject to conditions. Move on to agenda item 5. Page 51 of the plan. Final application reference 2026-0305 LBW listed Hayley Hudson the removal of the existing metal railings fixed to the lower step. Fixing pockets to be reviewed after removal, to be infilled with molten lead, matching stone indents. Removal of lighting fixed to the monument to be replaced with lighting mounted on bollards adjacent to the monument. New railings set away from the monument and metal heritage railings and stone plinth match to the monument. New seating, soft planting and heritage information boards installed around the perimeter of the memorial, Bentinck Memorial Marketplace. Mansfield, invite us for a report, please.
Thank you, Chair. This listed building listed building consent application relates to the Bentinck Monument, which is part of the wider proposal that I've just presented. The chair has just described the proposed works, which is on the description, so I will not repeat this again. The conservation officer has been consulted and did not raise any objection to the proposed work to the Bentinck Memorial. Removal of the existing railings is considered acceptable as they are not part of the original design and have limited heritage significance. The replacement with more appropriate railings mounted on the low line wall together with relocated lighting columns is considered to enhance the setting of the listed building, which is the monument, and to improve its appearance and help prevent further damage. As the full extent of the repairs to the monument cannot be determined until the existing railings are removed, a condition is recommended requiring a detailed schedule of repairs and methodology to be submitted for approval. Conditions are also recommended to secure details of the separation area between the monument and the low stone wall, which is currently the information provided is not sufficient. And conditions are also recommended for limestone materials for the stone wall and paving to be submitted, and also to control the finishing of the metal works to be black in color. The proposed planting, seating, and interpretation panels are also considered appropriate and will be improved and will improve the setting of the monument. Historic England welcomes the principle of the proposal and similarly requests further details of the replacement of railings and wood methodology. Officers consider that these matters can be addressed through planning conditions. Overall, it is considered that the proposal would preserve and enhance the significance and setting of the Grade 2 listed Bentinck Memorial. And therefore, it is recommended for approval subject to the recommended conditions. Thank you.
Do you have any questions of the officer, please? The proposer for the Councillor Calman, Councillor Hammersley. Anyone wishing to comment on the motion? Can I move to the vote then, please? All those in favour, please show. Any abstentions? Any against? I feel that's unanimous. So, on application reference 2026-0305 LBW, the building consent with removal of the existing metal railings fixed to the lower step, fixing pockets to be reviewed after removal, to be infilled from lead, installing indent. Removal of lighting fixed with aluminium to be replaced with lighting mounted on boards, adjacent to the monument. New railings set away from the monument, metal heritage railings on stone plinth to match the monument. New seating, soft planting, heritage information boards installed around the perimeter of the memorial. Bentinck Memorial Marketplace, Warsaw, Mansfield, has been granted planning permission with conditions. Moving on to item 6, page 63, which is the appeal decision Can I ask committee to amend this? All those in favour, please show. So noted, thank you. And final item on the agenda, item 7, the Academics of Human Rights Act. The use classes, could I again ask the committee to show on the same part? So that concludes business for tonight. Thank you for your attendance. And would you all take being here?